In October 2018, Hurricane Michael shredded the Florida Panhandle as a Category 5 storm. It was an atmospheric meat grinder with sustained winds of 160 miles per hour and gusts reaching 175. It did not just damage the coastal community of Callaway, it erased it. Thriving neighborhoods were reduced to piles of wet debris and standing puddles of hopelessness. But in the middle of this wasteland, a single structure remained perfectly intact. It was a 30 by 40 foot corrugated steel garage that cost less than a conventional down payment, and it stood firm while multi-million-dollar bunkers nearby were falling apart. While surrounding homes were processed by the wind into insurance claims, Sammy Allen's steel arch did not have a single wrinkle. This is the Quonset hut. It is a structure that transfers wind energy directly into its foundation instead of catching it like a sail. You can buy a modern kit for a fraction of the cost of a traditional house, and you can build the shell in 48 hours with a cordless drill and a few bolts. So, why is this engineering masterpiece effectively banned in almost every American suburb? Why does your local zoning board treat the most resilient structure on Earth like a legal biohazard? To find the answer, you have to look past the aesthetic harmony laws and follow the $66 million in lobbying money flowing from homebuilder associations into the pockets of the regulators. To see why the arch is illegal, you first have to understand why your current house is an engineering failure. The modern American home is a box. From a fluid dynamics perspective, a house with flat walls is a massive sail. When a 150 miles per hour wind hits a vertical wall, the energy does not just pass by. It decelerates abruptly, creating a high pressure zone on the windward side and a vacuum on the leeward side. This creates a pressure differential that generates uplift. This is the force responsible for peeling a roof off a house, like the lid of a tin can. The Quonset hut bypasses this failure mode through its aerodynamic profile. The curved arch allows high-velocity wind to flow over the structure with minimal turbulence, which reduces the net pressure. In engineering terms, the drag coefficient of a semi-cylinder is significantly lower than that of a rectangular prism. While a flat wall resists the wind, the arch deflects it. This is the arch never sleeps principle. It is a state of perpetual compression, where the very forces of nature intended to destroy the building actually strengthen its bond with the earth. In a traditional stick-frame home, the load path is fragmented. Gravity and wind loads have to travel through a series of mechanical fasteners, like shingles to sheathing, sheathing to trusses, trusses to walls, and walls to foundation. Every joint is a failure point. If a single hurricane strap gives out, the entire structural integrity of the roof is compromised. The Quonset hut is a monolithic shell. The roof is the wall. Force applied at any point is distributed across the entire corrugated surface and directed straight into the foundation. The history of this structure is a story of military efficiency meeting civilian suppression. Developed at Quonset Point, Rhode Island, in 1941, the United States Navy needed a building that could be shipped in a crate and erected by unskilled labor. Following the Second World War, the government liquidated thousands of surplus units for as little as $230. Veterans were building permanent, fireproof, and rot-proof homes for the price of a used motorcycle. By 1946, these tin cans had eased the post-war housing shortage in cities across the nation. But a house that costs $35,000 and lasts for 80 years is a threat to the global financial order. The residential construction industry is a $95 billion a year machine, built on a maintenance economy. Traditional homes are designed to require a new roof every 15 years, a new coat of paint every 5 years, and constant chemical treatments for pests and rot. A Galvalume steel arch coated with an alloy of aluminum and zinc carries a 50-year warranty against rust and requires zero specialized maintenance. This brings us to the industrial mechanic. This is the coordinated effort to keep you in a cycle of high-interest debt and recurring repair costs. The National Association of Home Builders, NAHB, is the primary gatekeeper. Since 2003, they have spent over $66 million on lobbying. They handle building codes and flood insurance to ensure that standards remain tailored to traditional high-volume construction. In the fourth quarter of 2025, they engaged specialized firms for $80,000 to protect their influence over appropriations and trade policy. They are joined by the American Wood Council, which represents 86% of the structural wood industry. Their stated mission is to expand market opportunities for wood and building codes. Then there is the Softwood Lumber Board, an industry-funded program that claims to generate $45 in revenue for every single dollar they invest in promoting wood and influencing building codes. This is a structural monopoly. They have successfully lobbied for codes that mandate wood as the default for residential builds, while placing hurdles in front of steel and concrete alternatives. In many counties, the suppression is written into the law. Santa Cruz County, Arizona, explicitly prohibits Quonset huts for residential use. Officials say they are inconsistent with the safety and character of the region. Other counties use aesthetic harmony standards as a legal tool. Franklin County, Florida, permits metal structures as dwellings only if they are masked by traditional materials. They mandate that the exterior wall be covered in brick, wood, or vinyl siding. Homeowners are being forced to cover a steel shell in high-maintenance trash just so it looks like it belongs in the 1950s. Private homeowners associations are the final line of defense for the status quo. Their covenants, conditions, and restrictions are private agreements that govern with the force of legal authority. Many associations mandate a minimum roof pitch of 4 to 12. Since a Quonset is a curve, its pitch at the apex is 0, which makes it mathematically impossible to comply. Architectural review committees have the legal authority to reject any design deemed inconsistent with neighborhood character. That is a polite way of saying the design is too cheap and too durable to be allowed here. The financial sector provides the ultimate shakedown. A house in America is a financial instrument first and a shelter second. The 30-year mortgage requires a predictable asset that can be appraised against comparable properties. Because Quonset huts are rare, there are no comparable properties for appraisers to use. This leads lenders to classify them as non-conforming or high-risk assets. Even if you want to build a safer and cheaper home, the bank will refuse to finance it unless it looks exactly like the flammable, high-maintenance house next door. The industry claims these regulations are about safety, but the real-world data proves otherwise. During Hurricane Michael, while stick-frame homes were being reduced to piles of debris, steel arches remained standing. Engineers tested these panels by hurling wooden planks at 100 miles per hour, and the steel barely dents. Meanwhile, those same planks would pass through a traditional suburban wall like a hot knife through butter. During Hurricane Charlie in 2004, families in Kissimmee were so confident in the strength of the arch that they abandoned their traditional homes to ride out the storm inside their steel workshops. This suppression has deep roots. In the late 1940s, the Lustron Corporation attempted to solve the housing crisis with mass-produced, porcelain-enameled steel homes. They were maintenance-free, fireproof, and modern, but they faced a three-pronged sabotage from banks, builders, and local regulators. Despite over 2,000 homes being built, the company was forced into bankruptcy in 1950. The story of the Lustron is the story of the Quonset. It is a superior technology killed by an industry that cannot compete on engineering merits. The National Association of Home Builders is currently forming working groups to address the missing middle housing gap, but their focus remains on traditional building types that maintain current labor and material dependencies. They advocate for resilience, but only if that resilience involves adding expensive, industry-approved components to a fundamentally flawed structural shape. They have no incentive to support a house that does not rot, does not burn, and does not require a lifelong debt obligation to acquire. As climate volatility increases and Category 5 hurricanes become more frequent, the cost of maintaining the suburban aesthetic of fragility will eventually become unsustainable. The steel arch represents a lost path to resilient and affordable housing. It is a structure that eliminates the most common failure modes of residential construction while offering a 50-year horizon of independence. The fact that it remains banned in the American suburb is proof that the industrial construction complex prioritizes quarterly profits over human survival. The physics of the arch has not changed, and the steel has not weakened. Only the zoning codes have multiplied to protect an industry that can no longer compete. The curve is waiting in warehouses and shipping containers, ready to provide a path to independence for anyone willing to map a route around the zoning wall. Like and subscribe to keep the transmission going.